Hello, I'm Rosella and welcome to my craft room. Now today I want to show you how to make this handy little fabric box, this little catch-all box. As you can see, this one I've embroidered and embellished, little message on there as well. And this one is just fabric, and you can see just how useful they are. I'm using that for embroidery threads. And so I thought I'd show you how to make them. I made lots and lots at Christmas and put gifts in, so no surprises as to what that is, but you can make one a perfect size for this. So let's do that. Now the first thing I want to do is to measure roughly the size of the box. So on this one, and probably ought to make a note of this, the paper there. So the width of the box is, well, it's actually, well, 4 3/8, but we need a little bit of room to sort of get our fingers in to get these sweeties out. So let's go for 4 3/4, and just about 1/2 inch bigger. So, and then it's 6 3/4, so let's go 7 1/4 on that as well. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm using a fat quarter for this, is that what I want to do is to give myself a nice straight edge so that I've got something to work to. So that's what I'm going to start with. And I'm just going to line my ruler up and just have a nice straight edge on this back quarter. And then I'm also going to have another straight edge on this side. So I've now got 2 straight edges, and that's enough for me to work with. It's not very straight, this back quarter, is it? I can see right from the bottom it's way out, but that'll be close enough. I think I need a new blade in my cutter. Hopefully it'll just make this project. Okay. So I've now got 2 straight edges, this one and this one. So that's where I'm going to start. Now, the depth of the side of my box, I'm going to make around about 2 inches. That's going to give me just a little bit extra, taking into account a bit of a seam on there as well. So I'm going to draw a line down the straight side of my fabric at 2 inches. I don't need to go all the way because I'm not going to use all of this fabric. So I'm using a heat erasable pen, and just going to draw a line down there. With my other straight side, I'm also going to draw a line at 2 inches. So line it up on that straight side. And then draw that line across there. So what I'm going to do now is the lines around here. We already measured the width to be that we wanted 4 3/4 inches. So we'll turn that over so we can see. So if we make a little mark on that corner, and it's 4 3/4, we just established. Houses found something to shout at. And we're going to draw a straight line up there as well. So line it up with the straight edges I've already got and draw a line down. So that's now the inside of my box. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw 2 inches to the side to make up the side again. So line up along the bottom. We've got to line up all the straight edges that we've got around. Let's line up. and then draw a line down. So now I've got two sides measured, this end measured. All I need now is this end. So the length we were going to go for is 7 1/4 inches. I'm just going to swap to a smaller ruler to measure, and it was 7 1/4 from the inside. So excuse me, this is my inside line, 7 1/4. We'll just pop a line across there, and then we'll draw that across, again lining up absolutely every straight line we can. And then we need the edge on there, so I've got the center, this is where my box is going to go, and I just need the edge there, so that's again 2 inches. So on there, let's just measure 2 inches up. So this is our box. I hope you can see that. I've used green pen on green fabric. That was very bright, wasn't it, Rosella? What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to cut out the outer edge. So I've cut around my box. I've drawn it in red there so that it's a little easier to see. And I've got some fusible fleece, ever so slightly smaller. I'm talking tiny little bit smaller. You know, 1/8 of an inch all round. Just not smaller at that edge. I should have cut it down a little bit more. It's just so that we don't have too much bulk. It doesn't really matter. And then my backing fabric was pretty. I need to then cut to this. Actually, I'm not going to do it to exactly the same size, and the reason being that I've got sort of a linen backing fabric and it's going to fray, and I'm actually going to put the fusible fleece on that. So I'm just going to cut it roughly, and then I'm going to attach the fusible fleece, and then we'll come back and cut it out. So I've got my fusible fleece onto my pretty outer fabric. My plain inner fabric, I probably should have mentioned, if you're using a patterned inner fabric, you need to draw the box on the reverse. But if you do, you've got your edges now. Just draw 2 inches from each side. In fact, I'm just going to show you that, so that if you've got this far and yeah, that's the wrong side, all you're going to do is turn your fabric over, and with your pen draw 2 inches along each edge. Just stand up for this, I can't see. And it's the centre of that I'm particularly interested in as well. So my fabric is still a little bit larger than this. I'm going to stitch right sides together. I'm going to go with the red. That's easier to see. And although it's a little bit larger, we could just neaten it a little bit and just cut it down so that it's the same size. That fleece is going to stabilise it a little bit. If you haven't got fusible fleece, you could use wadding, you could use interfacing. If you've got quite a stiff fabric, you don't have to use anything at all. It really doesn't matter. It's a really versatile little box, this. And then I'm just going to run down the edges there. I'm just going to make sure that's actually, because it's a linen-y type fabric, let's make sure it's straight. Yeah, that's close enough. It's going to be hidden within the seam allowance anyway. That's that one. And we'll just take a little bit off there. And then what I'm going to do, and I'm going to use about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, or maybe 1/2 centimetre, and I'm just going to run all the way around the edge, and I'm going to leave a little gap for turning just in one edge here. I'm now going to cut the excess off at the corners and turn through. So at the moment we've now got this flat piece of fabric. We've got the edges open there. I'm going to catch that in a top stitch in a little bit. If you've used a heat erasable pen, you don't want to iron this at this point because your lines are going to disappear. I've got a corner there. So smooth it as best you can. And then what I'm going to do, so I've put the green on top again to make it difficult to see. I'm going to stitch all those lines. So you've got 4 lines to stitch. 1, 2, 3 and 4. So I've now stitched my 4 lines, and those are actually my crease lines. So you can see where my box is coming from now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over to the iron, I'm going to press it, I'm going to press my opening together as well so that it's ready to stitch. And it doesn't matter now if I get rid of my heat erasable pen because I've got those lines stitched on. So nice and neatly pressed. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to top stitch around the edge. Whether you do this is entirely up to you. If you don't, then all you need to do is just neatly stitch the edge that was your turning gap closed. And there we go. It's a little bit like a placemat. Now, if you wanted to make this portable, just to slip in maybe a craft bag. What you could do is attach the corners just with press studs or poppers, which would mean that then it would lay nice and flat, and you could use it as a little mat, great for perhaps beading, something like that. But what I'm going to do this time is all you need to do is fold your corners in. You've got the seams, so if you just bring those two seams together, and it's going to give you a little bit of a wing there, and that's fine. And then we're just going to machine down those corners on all four corners, so that we've got little wings coming out. We'll just take off those threads. And there we've got our little box. Now all we need to do now is decide what to do with the ends. Now what we could do is I'll just grab one of these. We can stitch them flat, we could leave them out, we could put buttons on them, we could leave them as they are like this, perhaps put a button either side. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten it down, just because then it gives it quite a nice stable corner. So I'm going to flatten it down, and then I'm just going to stitch across the corner there, and that will be enough to keep it in place. And there we go. We've got our lovely little gift basket. that's going to be super useful when all of the sweets have gone. But in the meantime, there it is. Oh, now it looks like I've done my project now, and I only bought the sweets for the project, so I might just have to eat them. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please do subscribe, and hopefully you will join me for some more videos in the future. Have a great day.